The moment has arrived. President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un are about to meet in Singapore. Mr. Trump left his hotel a short time ago in a motorcade headed to the summit site on Sentosa Island. It's a resort off of Singapore's coast. And in one of the many choreographed moments of this event, Kim also departed his hotel under tight security and has now arrived for the historic meeting. It is the first time a sitting U.S. president has been face-to-face with a leader of North Korea. Our foreign affairs correspondent Nick Schifrin's there, and before we go to Nick, we want to show you these live pictures. This is the Capella Hotel at the Sentosa Island Resort. Sentosa stands for peace, the word peace, and this is where the two leaders will be holding this historic meeting. As we were saying, our foreign affairs correspondent Nick Schifrin is not far away. He is in Singapore, keeping an eye on all of this. Nick, they've pretty much tried to keep to schedule so far. The motorcades arrived when they said they did, and we're waiting for the two men to come out and shake hands.
Yeah, absolutely. They are right on schedule, and we will see a rather intimate handshake, we predict, just in the next few minutes. And I just got off the phone with a senior administration official who's predicting that this meeting will go well, and it will just be a start. And this is another example of lowering expectations about the product of this meeting. This senior administration official telling me
there they are, Nick. We're going to watch.
Nick,
I'm going to interrupt, and as we watch the two leaders shaking hands for the first time, standing in front of a row of American and North Korean flags, speaking to each other and then turning to face the cameras, a small group of cameras, reporters and others in what we call a pool representing the entire press corps. Now the president is gesturing and they're walking off to the side. So, Nick, that was relatively brief. They had a few words to say to one another from what we could see, but I would guess it lasted no more than 10 or 15 seconds before they turned to the cameras and then gestured and walked away.
Yeah, I think cordial is probably the best way to do that. The president tapping Kim Jong-un's shoulder and leading him or leading him toward the meeting that they're going to have right now. This is what's going to happen over the next couple hours, Judy. The two men will meet by themselves with only translators for about 45 minutes or so, although that space is up to them. They can go longer if they want. Then there'll be a further meeting, an expanded bilateral meeting. That'll include John Bolton, among other people, Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, who's been leading these negotiations, and that will go for about an hour and a half. And then after that, a working lunch that'll expand both teams. And as I was saying before, a senior administration official that I was talking to right before this started is really lowering expectations to the point where he's admitting that actually what will happen from this meeting is a cordial one, and they will not know how far Kim or the North Koreans are willing to go. All they want at this point is an opportunity for the president to get to know Kim, and then the hard work will happen. The two staffs will get together over the next few months and figure out whether Kim Jong-un really is serious about denuclearization, which of course is the key question right now. But it's interesting to hear the senior administration official saying even if this meeting goes well, they won't know how serious the North Koreans are about denuclearization.
Interesting that they seem to be lowering expectations, saying they don't expect big breakthroughs in this first meeting. They expect it to be an opening. Nick, I was watching the two men in that brief period when they were walking along the colonnade, making their way into the room where they'll be meeting, and they were chatting. We were told that Kim Jong-un speaks English, so perhaps he understood what the president was saying to him. We know there were interpreters right behind them, but that's one of the many questions people are going to have. We're looking right now at a picture, I don't know if we can show it or not, of the photographers and reporters trying to get a picture, trying to get a sense of what it looks like in the room where the two men are meeting. This is familiar to all of us who've covered these summits, these so-called bilateral meetings between two leaders. So some of this is very familiar in a way, Nick, but on the other hand, it's historic because never before has a sitting American president met with the North Korean leader.
Absolutely, and I think that's a key point. 25 years of diplomacy has led to this day. And most of that diplomacy, almost all of it, in fact, was done by the staffs, was done by the two sides. And so what Donald Trump, what the president has done, is flipped the switch, basically, and said, I want to go first. I want to decide whether Kim Jong-un is serious. I want to decide whether this is someone that we can deal with. And the president, of course, wants to feel that in the room. He said he'd know within the first few seconds. That will be the start of the process, not what is normal, which is the end of the process, this kind of summit. And so again, this summit, if it goes well, will only produce a relationship between the two men and will produce the opportunity for the two staffs on either side to figure out on the American side how serious North Korea is about denuclearization, and on the North Korean side, hear how serious the United States is about offering security guarantees and perhaps lifting some of the sanctions.
Here they are together. Let's listen.
We will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
우리는 아주 굉장히 성공할 걸로 믿습니다. 그리고 아주 만나게 돼서 굉장히 영광스럽게 생각합니다. 아주 훌륭한 관계를 가지고 있고 아주 전혀 의심 없이 좋은 관계를 우리가 맺을 거라고 생각합니다.
여기까지 오는 길이 그게 쉬운 길은 아니었죠.
Well, it was not easy to get here.
우리한테는 우리 발목을 잡는 그 과거가 있고 또 그릇된 풍경과 관행들이 우리 때로는 우리 눈과 귀를 가리우기도 했는데 우리 모든 것을 이겨내고 이 자리까지 왔습니다.
The past worked as fetters on our wings, and the old prejudices and practices worked as obstacles on our way forward, but we overcame all of them, and we are here today.
That's true. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It sounded like Kim Jong-un, President Trump said, we're looking forward to a meeting. He may have said a terrific meeting. I was having a hard time hearing. And then we heard Kim Jong-un say, among other things, we hope to overcome obstacles. And then President Trump responded right away, that's true. So they're already beginning a dialogue, if you will, Nick, before they get into this meeting, which we think could last 45 minutes, an hour or longer.
So 2 points about that. One, what is extraordinary is that Kim Jong-un has agreed to that setting, to a live camera with the President of the United States, and basically being willing to perhaps even be asked questions from the pool that's right there. This is a leader who leads one of the world's most notoriously restrictive human rights violating regimes. So he has never done this before. No North Korean has ever faced live cameras like this before, number one. Number two, obviously, the mood in the meeting is positive. And so at the very least, we know that both of them are trying to go into their meeting on a positive note, trying to reassure each other, and trying to figure out whether they can work together, and they seem both to want to.
And just quickly, Nick, I guess the U.S. side has said that they don't plan to bring up human rights during this meeting. Is that your understanding? And then second of all, this early word that they both planned, or at least the plan is, for them to leave Singapore within hours after this meeting ends.
So on human rights, the senior administration official tells me is that it is up to the president. The president, quote, calls a lot of audibles as he sees fit. And so the president has been very concerned, for example, about the family of Otto Warmbier, who was killed in North Korea, so worried about human rights, but also will not bring it up if he doesn't want to. And that's the key, that it really is up to the president at this point. And in terms of when they leave, they are scheduled to leave, both of them, in the next few hours, but they could also extend if they want.
Nick Schifrin reporting on this historic summit for us from Singapore. And Nick, will be coming back to you later this evening. Thank you. And in the day's other news, shortly before his meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, the president tweeted that his chief economic advisor has suffered a heart attack. He said Larry Kudlow has been working hard on trade and is being treated at Walter Reed Medical Center just outside of Washington, D.C.